Hello everyone and welcome to our last meeting together. Please join me in watching this video clip by Maddie Van Beek.
The LGBT community of New York came together to fight for their rights. The Stonewall riots lasted 3 days and actually were pretty successful considering it got them a lot of recognition. Most things did improve immediately. Equality. The Stonewall riots were the very gay pride parades. More and more.
LGBTQ+. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer. The plus represents diversity, growing inclusivity, acceptance, and embrace for all. Our Pride Month was established to honor June 1969, the Manhattan Uprising of the Stonewall Inn in New York City. It started dark in the beginning, but it's transformed into a bright light and a promise for the pursuit of happiness for many. As a member of the gay community, I've had the honor of being a part of several prides across several states and across 2 different decades. I've learned a lot about my community and meeting people eager to keep the flame from the Stonewall Inn alive today. Today, we'll be discussing the beginnings, the evolution of the Pride Month, as well as some personal experiences. Grab your clack fans and a mimosa. Let's get started. The first Pride was a riot. A memorable term coined by the community in remembrance of the Stonewall riots. In a June 2021 article from the University of Central Florida, Jenna Lee explains that on June 28, 1969, New York City police raided the inn, sparking a riot among the patrons and neighborhood residents with police. The riot involved hundreds of people, which led to 6 days of protest and violent clashes with law enforcement outside the bar and neighboring parks. 1 year later, thousands gathered and marched from Stonewall to Central Park in New York. This was called the Christopher Street Liberation Day, marking what is now recognized as the nation's first gay pride parade. That same year, groups from LA, San Francisco, and Chicago joined together to show their support. By 1980, pride parades had taken place in the world in cities like Montreal, London, Mexico City, and Sydney. LGBTQ+ people and allies have continued to gather together globally in June to march with pride and demonstrate for equality rights. The Stonewall Uprising was a true tipping point for the gay liberation movement. Let's continue into Pride's progression throughout the last couple of decades. Although it has been celebrated for more than 50 years, in the year 2000, President Clinton officially deemed June as the Gay and Lesbian Pride Month. It was later expanded in 2011 by President Obama to be the modern LGBTQ+ representation. According to the Library of Congress, today's celebrations include pride parades, picnics, parties, workshops, symposia, and concerts. Along with the celebrations are memorials for those who have suffered or been lost to our community. In a June 2020 Time magazine article, Suyin Hayes documents that in the 1980s, the tone of the events had shifted as the tragedies of the AIDS crisis became central to actions and demonstrations. Today, memorials are held during the month for those members of the community who have been lost to hate crimes as well as HIV/AIDS. The purpose of the commemorative month has evolved to not only celebrate our culture, but recognize the impact of the LGBTQ individuals who have had a lasting mark on history, locally, nationally, and internationally. We celebrate in an extraordinary way that commemorates our pride for self-identity and true nature, and of course, expressing love without limitation. Finally, I'm going to recount one of my own experiences with Pride Month. To begin, it was 2012, and it was my first Pride in Dallas, Texas. The Roundup Saloon was a country bar, and I was a regular patron of theirs. A few people had pulled out from volunteering for their Pride celebration, so the manager offered me a free shot if I would join in the parade in their float. I said of course, and I got to experience being in the middle of the Pride celebration with thousands of people cheering. On top of that, Roundup was almost exclusively first in line for the parade. So by the time we were finished with the route, I was able to go back to the bar and watch the remainder of the parade. While on the float, I had the pleasure of standing to Miss Ronnie. Miss Ronnie was a staple in the community, but it was the first time I had met her. She talked to me about being trans in the community and what Pride meant to her. I hadn't met anyone who was Pride, as I grew up in East Texas in Longview, so it was nice to have that growing moment. We've discussed LGBTQ plus Pride today. I've discussed the history, its modern expression, and some personal experiences from it. I leave you with this graph, which shows countries where it is still illegal in black to be LGBTQ plus. Take a second to look at it. The fight for equality and acceptance is still echoed across the globe. We still have a long way to grow as a society to be inclusive and supportive of one another. But I believe in the good nature of people and our continued growth for the fight to love one another. With the words of the Trevor Project, a nonprofit for LGBT youth, it gets better. Thank you all for joining me.